But his sister Ethel, she had a twin, and it was Arthur. Her name was Ethel, and his name was Arthur, and they called him Bates. Down on all this land.
Okay.
The father was wood places, and he'd take teams of men, some of them were his wife's brother, Uncle Rob and Uncle John, and they went up into the woodlands. What's the name of those mountains? Adirondacks?
Yeah, probably.
They're the
Adirondacks.
oldest mountains in the world. And he made a fortune, very rich, and he is organized over at Ripley, but he married what is your Aunt Belle. And
Now that was Uncle Dave you're talking about.
Mary Bell Smith.
yeah.
Where did Daddy's
That's where
father?
Daddy got his name.
Where did Daddy's father come from?
From Albemarle County, Virginia.
From what county?
Albemarle. A-L-B-Y by Albemarle. M-E-R-I-A-L. Albemarle County. Virginia.
And what was his father's name?
Well, I have it in the Bible.
Jacob?
Jacob?
Jacob, that's where they're naming their babies Jacob.
Ah, I see.
I used to have been called Jacob.
Yeah. Jacob and his brother were veterans under Lee, surrendered at Appomattox, were allowed to keep a horse, and a team of horses and a wagon.
Really?
Came to this area here because they thought there would be more potential here because it wasn't so, it was just getting away from Virginia, which was under Reconstruction. And they moved out of the valley here because they were fearful of flooding and moved back towards the Jackson County.
Toward Ripley.
Towards Ripley.
Back in there.
So that's where they came from. They each, Dad said they each had a quarter apiece or a quarter between them, he can't remember which. So, and then they built themselves up into having a nice, and they farmed them, and they hired themselves out to a farmer who didn't have money, but he paid them off in land. They got a couple hundred acres of timberland.
The father's name was Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
That's where this modern day, they're using the name Jacob, old Jacob out there.
And where did he meet, where did Daddy's mother meet his...
Daddy's mother was
she
a
come from?
descendant of the greatest physician that America's ever had. And that day he was 150 years ahead of any in the day of George Washington, Ben Franklin.
And who was he? What was his
Thomas,
name? Benjamin Rush, was it?
Yeah.
Benjamin Rush.
Right.
And he signed the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, he's on the Declaration of Independence.
And so she, that was her father or her grandfather?
Her
Benjamin
grandfather,
Rush.
their mother's name was Stephen.
Oh, okay. And what was Daddy's mother's name?
Mary?
Mary, and that's where you named Mary Mary.
Well, yeah, Mary Ann Rush, family name, Rogers. And she married this Rogers.
I see.
Robert Lee Rogers. And he was named Robert Lee because his father drove the cannon wagon that Robert E. Lee had when he was fighting.
I see.
What was Sue's real name?
Sue's name was Ernest Rush Rogers.
And then how'd they end up having Robertsburg? Their farm was Robertsburg.
Because when he gambled, he had all this wealth. He gambled with these traveling woodmen, and he gambled so much that he owed $85,000 in money. And so when she found out about it, they left Ripley, and she had a pot of gold packed with big gold pieces, and she paid for the land down there with gold.
I see.
She had $6,000 in gold. He had, his original loss, the major loss came with his tract of timber that he couldn't access.
And so,
So then he
and the
kept,
flood washed out the railroad,
yeah.
and then they had no access to the land that he had,
right.
and that's how come he had to go bankrupt.
Couldn't extract the timber. But, so then he tried every way to get a capital base built up so he could then go into enterprising again, in the timber business. And he couldn't get a capital base built up. And he kept trying all these different ways to get the capital, which you have to have, and he couldn't get a base built up.
So they moved, and they had that home down at Robertsburg that's on the right-hand side of the road, or was on the right-hand side of the road?
Yeah, it went from the creek, 18 Mile Creek, down to where the bottom narrows. You know down there below Ruby's where it narrows?
Yes.
It was right in there, is where it narrowed. And then they owned back to the top, I think, of maybe the second hill back.
He went back, covered 3 counties, and his mother's
Her
sister.
stories are better than your stories.
David, you remember Aunt Lib?
Yeah,
That hill that had the big grocery store
yeah, sure
up there,
did. Up in
and
that,
these plants started. She was married, when she married Uncle, what's his name, Hill, had Uncle Tick.
Tick Hill.
Tick Hill had a big store up there. She was rode the horse. She was in one county. This is very different. The husband to be was married in another county, and another county was where the preacher rode on his horse, and they had a wedding consisting of them being in 3 counties that all belonged to her.
Jackson, Mason, and Tucker.
And so when
Total, couple hundred acres.
when Daddy's mother died,
Total
Daddy
acres,
was 18 years old, right? Or
That was,
was he 18 when his mother died?
No, 14.
no, she died in 1918, Dad was about 21.
He was 21. But I remember you said it was in the winter, and they had to have horses to pull her carriage, and
Yeah.
what was it about? Was it white horses? Do I remember hearing Daddy say it
I
was
don't know
white
anything about
horses
that, but
carrying her
Snug was
hearse?
there, and when they came back,
But she said,
took them all day to get out there and bury her.
And where's she buried?
Out that little cemetery out there.
Mount Zion,
Mountain Town.
Outside.
yeah. She sacrificed her life for her child Arthur, Uncle Bench, who had the flu in the Navy. And as they had the sick bay here and the morgue here, and the sicker you got, the closer they moved you to the morgue. You know they're efficient in the
Right,
military.
right.
He was right next to the door, head swollen like that. She came and nursed him back to health. Well, he had the swine flu. She contracted it, and then she died.
Oh, is that what happened? Is she contracted the flu from him?
Yes.
See, in 1878, the New York Central Railroad came down to the valley, and the word came to the man. He had just come from Germany, named Grimm, and the father of all these Grimm girls. And I don't think we've had any son. Well, this man, now what was his name? The soul of land. When they came back, all the family came in from New York, not from New York, from Detroit, and from where your father went over there and lived with his sisters. Akron, where the rubber mill had just started. And when they came back from the funeral, after a big, hard day of riding, they found that 16 feet of their land over here had been cut off. Remember? And somebody stole it. So the men got girls stayed there that were destined to the funeral, house full of them. And they went down here to Point Pleasant and got the sheriff and brought the sheriff up and made him go and replace the fence. He hadn't burned it up yet. Replace the fence and put it right back in. Each post store went right in the same place. because he was a thief and he stole it. They later came to Buffalo and they bought this little house out here after that belonged to Terry Adams. She came from way back beyond Piney toward Huntington, you know, on those country roads. And she had 3 children. One was in my class when I went to the old academy. It's in grade school. Named Thornton.
Where is Daddy's father buried?
Out that cemetery he just told you
Is he
about.
right beside of
They've got-
Daddy's mother? Are they together there?
Yes,
They are.
fine, beautiful stones. And old Jacob.
And what year did he die? Daddy's
He died
father?
in the 20s.
In the 20s?
He was in the 1920 something when he
In the
died.
20s, okay.
I have it in the Bible. I got all this that we're talking about in the Bible.
And
Everybody, you need your family Bible. Bill,
I've got it.
you got a family Bible, big one?
Yeah.
To put all of it in because you forget it. I see that a lot of these little varmints. Now I want to tell you, did you see that little net flying by? I have to watch it.
yeah, everybody has them,
Something
especially
like
with the fruit and stuff that you get in the winter
Well,
time.
you say, oh, you're crazy. I can tell you, you know why your whiskers are white? Because you've had little gnats in there.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, you've got gnats, you've got
That's
gnatitis.
not true.
From kissing the dog.
That's not true. That's not
Gnatitis,
true.
that's it.
I
Bill,
have
you
my
must be
hair-
kissing a dog
My
on the
hair
side.
is
That's why your
naturally
hair is
black and
turning
I
gray.
dye it white.
I
Is
got,
it?
look,
Mine's turning white. I've been kissing too many dogs.
Is as
Have you-
white as your
That's
whiskers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just right in the
It's
sides.
excellent.
And I told Dale, I said, until I
with men.
get beautiful white hair, I'm gonna
there's
continue
some
coloring
When
it.
Dad was.
But when it turns pretty,
When
I'm
Dad was
gonna-
around 28,
in the
his
middle of
hair
the night,
started turning
when I'm
gray.
hitting
Yeah.
myself,
When I got
have a
28,
long
my hair
time
started turning
for
gray.
contemplation
Yeah, I
about
have some
things
great
I've
patches
heard
on
and
top, but I've got
put this
white right here.
together.
Allie does too. She has a lot of white. Now I don't know about Diane. She's like me.
I got
A
them
lot.
all.
She colors her hair as quick as it starts doing
Right.
something. You know. Now Mary's got her hair almost a whitish
Because-
blonde now.
No, she
So.
is.
The Bible says, right here, without getting into the scriptures, the King is coming. I am the way, the truth, the life. Now you can become what you want to be in this life. With hard studying, you can become teachers, you know, doctors, lawyers, or all these different things. And Jacob, the railroad went through here. Now, this railroad, by the way, came, well, I'll tell you first, that the Kanawha River has not always been called the Kanawha River. It is here in the foothill mountains of the Adirondacks that are the oldest mountains in the whole world. Someday, when the undersurface goes bad, we'll have the worst earthquake that the world has ever seen or heard tell of.
You think so? What was the
Daddy
Kanawha
told-
River called?
Daddy told me that, and then I read up about it.
Did he?
But now what I was going to tell you,
The Kanawha River has not always been called the Kanawha River.
no, there was the cavemen. We all studied cavemen in our history classes. There was a caveman before those cavemen. We don't think, well, we think cavemen are the first settlers in America or in the world. But they are the sons that survived and daughters in the caves of cavemen that preceded them. And they were called Kon, K-O-N, and O-U-G-H, O-U-G-H, Kanawha. And this river here is one of the oldest rivers, Kanawha River, in the world, named after what these earliest
That
settlers
tribe.
that history has recorded about. I reread this just recently again. And the name for those cavemen. They have in a current paper that up here, out there where Mary lives,
In Oregon.
in Oregon, and Seattle, Washington's right above that. I always kind of think of it, I think about being over here. But it's here, it's the northwest. We're in the northeast. You know, Florida hooks on in the peninsular way. So. Well, what I was telling you, that these early people had certain characteristics that have come down generation after generation after generation, you know. And if you live along let's say the Canal River or the ocean, like you go into the ocean, you learn to enjoy in your environment to eat the fish. Don't go so much to say for the whale, they're too big, too fat, less fat. And, well, anyway, history does repeat itself. And these,
Yes, it does.
they say that, change the subject, what do you think about George W. Bush?
Well, what do you think about him?
Well, that's an example of him repeating himself. He's letting on like, we are not winning this war. We started the war. I heard so on board, didn't you?
I think it was contrived because Saddam was so slick and so manipulative that
What was their slip?
Saddam Hussein, that after they took the troops over there, Saddam more or less came clean, and I think it was
They haven't
contrived.
hanged him there, have they? They haven't proved
And
him.
they better, because whenever they have a civil war, and he's
He gets
free,
out.
yeah, he's free again. You talk, they say he tried to kill George Bush's father, the first president.